Give me pleasure to introduce Lazarus Matizirofa and Daisy Selematsela, who are going to talk about open access transitionary process and challenges within the national system of innovation.
Thanks, colleagues. I'm standing between you and lunch, even though you just had your tea, but I know how it works. So our focus today between myself and Lazarus was much more on the open access workflow that we're currently dealing with. And I thought after the deliberations that we've had this morning and yesterday's discussions that we had, to focus much more on the elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about. I don't know, it's because are we not conversant or aware that it's taking place within our institutions, and how do we relate with our researchers with regards to this elephant in the room. But I'm glad that I see one of the publishers or the vendors will be talking about this tomorrow afternoon as it relates to publishing and so forth. So without further ado, so what I thought with regards to the disruptiveness of what we are talking about since yesterday and today, looking at the challenges that we are faced with after publishing the NRF's open access statement, which I won't dwell with on, because I noticed some colleagues here are going to be presenting also aligning to that open access statement. I just want to highlight the challenges that we picked up with regards to the perceptions around open access as it relates to open science and open data. And one of the things that we picked up from the committees that serve within the funding agency and the funding models for the programs that are run by the funding agencies. So the one big one was the issue around how do we promote and support open access within our institutions. The perceptions around it from our community, our research community, the issue around their views with regards to open access and open data. What does it mean for them and the understanding, let alone repositories. We were at a meeting previously where the issue was around moving away from repositories and starting to talk about scholarly, they said scholarly communication, Matiz, and we protested to say, if you want to move to that direction, you are not moving, because we still want to talk about repositories. We will be confusing the community if we move to something else. The issue around the lack of understanding amongst our junior colleagues, especially in the research fraternity, with regards to predatory journals and deceptive publishers, and being called in to serve on the editorial boards of these institutions, the bogus institutions. That's the big elephant in the room. What are we doing as academic libraries and science councils? What's our role in that? And in relation to open access and open science. And again, the perceived lack of attention with regards to predatory journals in general, the understanding, how do you identify one? Is it, are we expecting our researchers to be looking at that? It's not their job. I always say it's not their job. We need to be supporting our researchers. They don't have time to filter through and say, this is how I identify predatory journal and so forth. Why are we there? Why are we doing certain services that we do to our researchers or for our researchers? And the big part that we picked up, especially for the past 2 years, it's like a gremlin coming up on us when we were hosting workshops for postdocs across the country. It came to the fore. Postdocs were shocked to learn that where they published were not genuine publishing outlets. And the worst part was the fact that they were actually reinforced or supported to publish in those journals. And one postdoc, remember Matiz in Cape Town, actually came out of a meeting and said, I'm so sorry, I have to open up because my dean actually said, I'm aware that's a predatory journal, but I'm willing to support you to go and publish in that. We are setting our own researchers for failure, but I still say the blame is with us who are supporting, subscribing, and doing all these things on behalf of our institutions. What are we doing with that? And this links a lot to our open science movement, because the perception out there is that it's this open science, it's this open data, open science. That's why we have this plethora of issues around predatory journals, deceptive publishers, and serving as bogus editors. And the other issue Ina, Susan, and Letty, the issue about performance appraisals or performance management, the incentives with regards to the focus on quantity, the numbers, and not the quantity. And we heard about this discussion this morning about on the issues around the numbers. So I just want to share with you anecdotal observations with regards to that. The perceived link, a study needs to be done. Those who are pursuing their studies or want to write articles, that's another agenda that you can start pursuing. I can share the data with you. Perceived link between predatory publishing, open science, in particular open access, and the transformation agenda. We are human beings. We tend to, when you are confronted to say, Daisy, your publications are in the wrong outlet, what do? Are you made aware? I write a 2-page email. There are people who write 2-page emails justifying why they published in those predatory journals and putting the blame on somebody else and saying, because I was at this institution, I migrated to this institution because I'm the best in since sliced bread. They called me because I'm the best in since sliced bread, and now you are telling me that I'm not so kosher anymore. What do you expect me to do? I don't know who's from UJ here, but I understand we were told in April, UJ has actually put a policy in place to address publishing in predatory journals and deceptive publishing. I don't know about other institutions, but UJ we had a discussion with them with regards to this. So I just want to share with you that just for the cycle now, with the application for rating and evaluation at the NRF, 30% of the applications for this cycle they closed Feb 2017, that are going to, the panels are going to start sitting in July. 30% of those applications were in predatory journals. What does it tell us? We're not talking about grants, we're talking about rating. And with rating, we're saying these are established researchers, even though we know that we have young researchers coming into the fold. What does it tell us about the role that we play within our institutions? If you look at that, you can see, Glenn, I need to play with your little dot here. On my right-hand side, the number of applications, you can see there, out of the 180 applications, none published in predatory journals. But if you go down the line, you'll see there, 16 applicants published in one, that title, that's the title. Okay, and you go down, you can see that 197, almost 157, my eyes are killing me now. If you know what I mean there. And Reggie knows about my eyes, that's why I have an eyesight problem. 157 applicants, and look on the other side, where did they publish? 284. Yeah. And the sad part, out of that 157, I don't want to mention names and so forth, but there are 2 researchers, well-known researchers, from the top 5 institutions who published in amongst those 284. And they are highly ranked South African researchers. And you say you have 2 elements. You have the young researcher on the side, young in research, and a mature researcher in research. Where to draw the line? When this one says, oh, who are you to come and tell me? Because most of us were actually happy when Bill's list was removed, because that was the only source to go to where we can say, this is where we can judge. What are we doing? Are we serving and working with the Aussie community that just had a meeting in Washington regarding this, and we're talking on open science regarding how we deal with the blacklisting of some of these journals that are crippling the open science movement? So I just want you to think about that. Lazarus will talk about the workflow. I just want to share with you a fractional study with regards to our university. This was done by a colleague of ours from Stellenbosch University, and you can see the trajectory there with the use of predatory journals that was done. This study was done for the past 2 years, and Jeffrey Bill, our colleague who's a librarian like us, was actually interviewed with regards to this. So I have much more data in this analysis, and you can see the universities on the left, that high, the peak one there, it's one institution there, and you go down, and you can see. And we have this narrative also with the rankings, how they are standing out with regards to the use of predatory journals. But I'm saying again, whose role is it? Are we working with the research offices? when applications are being launched, are we involved in the process? Or we wait for a peer researcher to come and say, okay, do you want to learn about publish or perish or whatever? Are we proactive in our way of doing things? Matiz, I told you to check on my time. Out of this, oh, the slides are messed up here. Okay, I'll have to move. Yeah. So out of all the discussions that we have had, I'm trying to find something that's missing here. Yeah, Matiz removed one slide of mine. Before, yes, Matiz, I told you. Okay, a slide of mine is missing on actions that took place with regards to how do we address this perception around open science, open access, and open data impacting as part of the transformation agenda on what we are trying to do with the scholarly publishing. One of the things that we did with the community, the specialist committees that serve on these panels who are electing us, and the fact that the peer review mechanism is quite strong. And these are the people who actually elect when they have to review applications to say, no, 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 that's not kosher. This publication, it's not on, or this is salami slicing, and so forth. That came from the peer review mechanism. And out of that, with consultation with the community, it was agreed that NRF needs to come up with a statement on the use of credentialed journals and deceptive publishers, and also serving on editorial committees. And this is the statement that came out. And out of that, a secondary thing, which is primary in this event, was the fact that the application process, the online application process, either for grants or for rating, there's a disclaimer that we put out there. A researcher or a student needs to declare where they published. If they are aware that that article that they published is in a critical journal, they need to declare that it's a non-peer-reviewed article. Failure to do so, there are consequences, and that's in the application process. That has been implemented in the application process. The third leg was that there needs to be a discussion between ASAF and DHET with regards to the removal of some of the predatory journals that are still hanging in the DHET list. And the community also requested that there should be a list generated by the funding agency on the journals that they say these are accredited lists. No. We did say no, we can't do that because of the plethora of journals that are out there. The researchers know where they want to publish, and it's our role also to advise from the library side on where and what's the best point of access for certain fields and so forth. And the last part was the issue around how we are going to use ORCID, and we saw the ORCID statement that also went out a few weeks after the predatory journal. And we had an ORCID strategic meeting last week, and the discussions was around how would ORCID plan to filter or sieve perceived deceptive publishing within the domain with what they are doing with persistent identifiers and so forth. Having said that, Matiz, it's your floor.
I'm going to look at the workflow with regards to submission of funded research outputs, and also how we envisage to align ourselves to the global repositories, particularly in partnership with our global partners in KUA, which is the Confederation of Open Access Repositories. So if we look at the South African repository landscape, we have 48 registered repositories that are on the raw directory. And of these, we have 35 dispersed users. As NRF, our strategic partner in terms of software is by choice dispersed, but we are not requesting institutions to abandon whatever software that we are using, as long as we are going to be able to harvest. But already we are having challenges for harvesting ETDs. Some institutions, you will see when I show the numbers on how far we are harvesting theses and dissertations. So in terms of the 35 users, NRF is now engaging in workshops where we bring our international partners to provide the capacities that we are lacking. And it's unfortunate, as you know, one of our colleagues who was a pioneer for this space in South Africa, Hilton, passed away recently. So in order for us to continue, we need to have more Hiltons in our midst. So NRF is strategically engaging with our international partners, particularly members of this space, and our colleagues at For Science and also other core members to be able to capacitate us in terms of skills that are required. Majority of our IR managers, we are not programmers. So we need a technical backbone to support these repositories. In terms of programmers, people that can work with the software, and it's always a challenge when we get to upload, upgrading our DSpace platforms. So as we have had one workshop which was hosted in Cape Town through the UCT Open Access Symposium, and we had almost, I think, 38 members that came from within South Africa, Namibia, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. So in December of this year, we will have another workshop during the DST Open Science Forum in Pretoria as part of the KUA Africa Site workshop. What we are trying to do is to bring the rest of the world to Africa so that we can partner and share our problems and challenges with them. So in terms of policies, I'm not going to dwell much. For those that have not registered your policies, open access policies or mandates, it is always a good thing to have your policies available so that people or your researchers are aware of this, what needs to be done within the institutions. So from our side, I think for those that have attended to some of my workshops at institutional level, you know the NRF requires all journal articles, conference papers, book chapters, and books that are funded to be in the open domain through the golden open access route. Then if they are not published in these models, then the author manuscripts are required. That is the repository archiving and publishing. This will also include, and it's now mandatory, within the next calls that have started being issued out by the NRF, datasets of supporting publications. That supports publications must be deposited in the institution. So therefore, I think if we look at our landscape, we do not have open data repositories at the moment. There are few institutions that have started archiving these outputs. So in terms of our strategy, we have SADA, which is the South African Data Archive, where we'll be archiving NRF-funded datasets. And for those that would have embargoes, but still the metadata will be required to be accessible. And as a repository of last choice, your researchers can also deposit through DERISA, which is managed by our colleagues at CSIR. So going forward, we are in negotiation for DMP template. We have received a quotation from the Digital Curation Center, of which I think by July we should have had some serious discussion whether to adopt their DMP. So the NRF will therefore manage and register DOIs as a national center for data site, and this implementation strategy is in place. And also the NRF grantees are required to register their DMPs and datasets. So in other words, we are going to customize what the DCC template looks like for the benefit of our researchers. Please note NRF grantees. So NRF grantees datasets are therefore to be curated and hosted in the NRF SADAS repository if the institutions where these grantees are sitting don't have a repository. I'm not going to allude to ORCID, Daisy has already mentioned, but it's all our grantees as of this year are required to register in ORCID for us to be able to harvest or track their outputs. And one thing that has happened to us, fortunately, SADA is now part of the National Infrastructure Platform. For those that know the South African roadmap for infrastructure, SARIA, SADA and Nexus have been flagged and they are now elevated at a national level. So we are therefore going to be implementing new workflows together with the institutions that supports our grantees. And also to mention, we have the research equipment database, which is ideally not fairly used in the libraries, but most of your researchers need to be aware of this database. So I would hope that going forward, the libraries need to flag this database as part of your databases. Similarly to the way you work with Nexus. Your researchers need to know what is available and who to collaborate with if they need to have such equipment. This is very expensive equipment that we index in this database. So it needs to be used, and we are also going to issue out a statement that whoever publishes datasets that are accruing from this equipment will need to cite this individual equipment. So there will be a handle from this database which they can cite that equipment. So it's going to be a requirement going forward, so that we'll be able to track the value that the government is putting in this equipment. Colleagues, I think at the beginning of this year, we wrote a communique to all institutions, particularly to Chelsea, head of libraries, that we had migrated Nexus from the old database to a dispersed platform. But what it requires now, the workflow is going to change. In the past, we used to get outputs from institutions, and these items were captured by NRF staff. But going forward, we are reversing the workflow. The institutions themselves now need to capture the database into our system. Why we are doing that is because there were gaps in the submissions, which we had no control of. So therefore, if we give you that workflow back, for you to own the process, then we'll be able to cover those gaps. Already we have started working with some institutions on pilot phases, TUT, CPUT. They've already looked at the gaps that resides in the database, and they've provided the records that were outstanding, etc. So during the month of July, June, we are going to have institutional visits. We were planning to have regional workshops, but we want to have each and every university's registry, the research office, and the library staff to be in one room, so that we can devise individual workflows that will be favorable to those institutions. So the dilemma that we had is, in some institutions, the registry provides current details of thesis or proposals that would have been registered. And in some institutions, it's the research office that would have been sending these records to us. So in order for us to be at the same level as an institution, therefore the library, because they have a stake in the outputs that becomes the thesis, they must be knowing when these things are captured. And at the same time, Nexus is used as a platform for introducing new postgraduate students. to the research fields, so it is also used as a searching tool for them to not to duplicate other people's work. So that's why we will involve the libraries. So the libraries have to determine who will be sitting in these meetings, but the call will go through your research office and you will be invited. So the new workflow, as mentioned, is supposed to integrate our two systems, which is where we are saying we have established that some institutions are not being harvested. So numbers don't lie. This is what I got tonight in regards to what is on our systems. So you'll notice some institutions, electronic theses, are growing up in terms of the numbers, and they are doing what do we call it? Retrospective digitization in order to increase the number of theses that are online. This is an essential tool for us. Our researchers need to know what has been done so that research cannot be refunded, etc. That's why we encourage that all these theses or proposals are online. Just recently, for those that follow news, the NRF signed an accord for UNDER, which is for the repository networking worldwide. This accord is what we are going to follow up as our technical guidelines in terms of how we manage repositories that we intend to harvest from. So this will also you have to include your strategies in terms of how you align your repositories to the NRF's harvesters, like Nexus and SADA, etc. So if we look at KUA's aspirations, they are there to develop the value-added services on top of global repositories that requires the widespread international adoption of common open application APIs, that is application programming interfaces and metadata standards. I think one of the challenges that for those that are not being harvested, if all of us had one identifier in your metadata that speaks to a funder, we'll be able to harvest what is NRF funded thesis or NRF funded publications, etc. Because going forward, we'll need to index all NRF-funded outputs on one platform. For those that are aware of or have seen the way how they do it in Netherlands, on one platform, the funder is able to identify the researchers it funds, the publications these published researchers produce, the data sets that they produce. So it's a one-off slide that they can present to government or to whoever wants that information for decision making. So that's where we want to envisage to go at and adopt such platforms. So if we look, I think in our case, we have talked of, if we look around, there are no budgets, if I can say, for repositories. Repository normally function as another function of the library. But we need to have dedicated support in terms of how we budget the resources, human capacity, the resources for money to support our technical needs in these spaces. Therefore, we also need to include the same people that work in cataloging to have the same principles applied on our systems, so that our data, when it's harvested in other global platforms, we are not found wanting. So in terms of our alignment with KUA, we are basing it on discovery. That is to develop interoperability of repositories through web-friendly repository technologies and architectures. And this will lead to better assessment, develop quality assessment of content generated for value for researchers and to share their research with others. In other words, the rewarding of researchers. As an indicator, they will also be able to use the same statistics that accrue from our repositories for probably for accreditation and etc. and also ratings. Therefore, in order for our workflows to be in the good hands, the libraries and our IT departments, the research office, all of us need to work together so that these workflows are very effective for both the institution and for us when we harvest. And obviously, through this, we have a better impact of all our things that resides on our digital platforms. So this is just a showcase of what we had in Cape Town in 2016, as you can see. For those that sent their stuff, I would like to thank you for sending your stuff. And please, when we have another call, please send the same staff that attended the first workshop. Otherwise, we will lose the same skills that we want to continue to sort of instill. Thank you.